So hello everyone again, and welcome on our UX break. Grab a coffee or other your favorite drink, and let's talk about workshops, how to plan them, facilitate them, and some tips and tricks. Please don't be shy and ask questions and share your experience. And also please rate our talk and send some badges to support our speakers. And I give the floor to our speakers, Sasha, Tanya, Masha, and Yulia. Please go on.
Yeah, so I will start. Hi, everyone. Next slide, please. My name is Oleg, and please meet our team, Maria, Tanya, and Yulia. And we work at IPAM as designers, and today we are going to share our experience. So just a little disclaimer about this speech. So we are going to talk about offline design thinking educational workshop. So not all the information may be applied to your working projects because there are some big differences in the audience and all little details. So just take this into consideration. Also, each of us will talk about some specific part and level about a design workshop from different points of view. And also, please wait until we finish the presentation to ask all your questions, and we will try to answer them in the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So let's start with beginning and high-level things like why have we decided to conduct the UX workshop? Next slide, please. So for a while, like last year, we were doing offline design meetups, and that was very interesting because there was public speaking, we were sharing knowledge, and that was pretty interesting, but we also wanted to try something more valuable for our participants. So what about the practical part? Next slide, please. As designers, all we know that at some point you came to understanding that to grow and to get even better in your skills, it might be very helpful to educate other people. And where you are trying to teach some skill, some practical skill, you're getting more into details and you are growing as well. So that is very useful as designers, and I think in any other profession as well. And we, in particular, were interested in design thinking method. So the workshops, the double diamond method is our tools that we are using in our day-to-day work. So this is the area that we wanted to develop in. Next slide, please. So we had a great chance to participate in the UX workshops that was conducted in 2021, and it was very useful and very interesting. So we were inspired to do our own project. And we are very lucky because our coworkers provided access to education materials, and we were able to use it as a basement for our own project. Next slide, please. So what actually you need to do to conduct the design thinking workshop? So let's talk about this, and let's begin from the team. Next slide, please. So how to find your team members, facilitators, and how to find participants that will take place in your workshop. So this is a moment where you need to apply all your soft skills and networking to get all the facilitators. That might be your coworkers, and this is what worked in my case. Also, you can try to find designers at your local communities. For the to bring audience to your workshop, you might use social media and even ads, because this is a very cheap way to get a big amount of people knowing about the event that is coming. And also don't forget about your friends to invite them, because our educational workshop was you don't need to have some special skills to attend, and practically everybody can attend in this event. So also make sure that you have made the announcement about your event from 2 to 4 weeks before it happened. Next slide, please. So what you need to do to start the workshop. The first thing is you need to find a great location with a lot of space and light. And also you need to make sure that you have power supply and shelter nearby in the worst case. Also, you need to prepare the activities plan and slides. We are going to talk about this part in details in a moment. Then you need to print the instructions and materials that will be useful for your participants. Then you need to buy the drawing supplies. This includes things like markers, sketchbooks, even rulers, pencils. And if you are going to conduct something like CGM and include it into your workshop, you will need to have big pieces of paper like A2 format as well. Then, if your location is hard to find, it will be useful to record a video that will walk through the participants to your location. Also, you will need to have, after you do announcement, you also will need to have a communication channel. In our case, we were using the Telegram chat, and we were inviting our participants into it, and that can be used to answer questions and also for feedback later. So that one is very useful. When you have the activities plan and slides, you need to conduct the dry runs with all the team members, and you need to do it until your facilitators perform with confidence. Next slide, please. So the very important part is activities planning, and you need to start with a timeline skeleton, not slides. So what does it mean? You just need to allocate time with two types, the activities time and breaks. For the activities, you can take from 2 to 3 hours, and for breaks, like 20, 30 minutes. And then inside this activities chunks, you need to place all types of activities, and you must have theoretical part and practical part. For the theory, you need to have like 10, 20 minutes to explain what's going on. And then the rest of the time should be taken for the practical. That will save a lot of time for you. And also you can answer additional questions during the practical time, because we will have moderators that are going around the tables. So everyone who needs some assistance will be able to ask questions. And this is exactly what we need. Also, when you are building your plan of activities, you need to make sure that you are going according to the design thinking process. So we start from the activities that are targeted to find the problems. Then you need to find the main problems, prioritize them. And then you need to, after you pick the main problems, you need to create solutions and then test them. So we need to go through a double diamond. Then, when you are picking the activities, you need to make sure that they don't need to have some special skills, that everyone can understand them. And after 10-20 minutes of explanation, they can start doing them. Next slide, please. So here you can see a schedule of activities that we were using in our workshop. And as you can see, we were going through the double diamond method. Next slide, please. So now when you have your activities plan, when you have your slides and you have got through the dry runs, you're ready to start your workshop. And when you are at your location, you need to do some things before you can start. So firstly, you need to check your laptops and check your projector. Then you need to prepare your workspace. That basically means that you need to stack from 4 to 6 desks into one surface to form and create work conditions for each team. Then you need to allocate equal amount of space between desks, so it will be easy to go through them. Then the very important thing is to check the visibility of slides. So basically, you need to check each position on each desk so that they can see the slides without interruption. And after you have checked this, you can start distributing your printed materials and drawing supplies. So basically, it's enough to have 3 copies of printed materials on one desk. You don't need more. Then you need to make sure that every team have enough sketchbooks, markers, and other supplies. After that, you need to bring enough snacks, tea, and coffee, because workshops are very energy consuming events, and people will need something to recharge themselves. So now you are ready to start, and that's all from my side. Maria, please continue.
Thank you, Oleg. Hello, everyone. Let's now take a closer look at slides preparation. I'll try to tell you why slides are important, how to make them useful for the audience, and also give you some tips we followed when preparing the slides for our workshop. So next slide, please. Well, why slides are important? Unlike a traditional presentation, the slides of a facilitation task are designed to guide collaboration and generate discussion. For the facilitator, slides help keep you on track, ensure you don't skip major points, and remind you to pause for exercises and discussions. For the attendees, slides clarify the major takeaways, remind them of exercise instructions, and reduce some of the stress around making notes. So the slides are simply priceless during the workshop. Next slide, please. The most common mistake when preparing the workshop presentation is to create too many slides. If there are too many slides, you will spend too much time on them. And because of that, the workshop will end late, which nobody likes, of course. The golden rule here is that you don't need to put every single word you intend to say on a slide. Your slides should guide you and support you, not dictate every sentence that comes out of your mouth. The good solution here is to begin by creating only the absolute minimum number of essential slides, and then expanding from there. Well, which slides are essential? Essential means that the workshop will be worse and harder to facilitate without them. According to Rob Fitzpatrick, the author of Workshop Survival Guide, there are several types of essential slides, such as learning outcomes summaries, exercise prompts, resource lists, and visual examples of fundamentally visual topics, such as fashion, architecture, and so on. And let's now take a closer look at each type of essential slide. The first type of essential slides are learning outcome summaries. These slides should come directly from your previously created skeleton. That means that, as Oleg said, you should prepare main activities before you start doing the slides. You should spend some time thinking about what's important for your participants to learn. If you did so, then you can trust your decision and simply move those points into your slide deck. Learning outcome summary slides can come in any number of forms, but don't be afraid to keep it simple. Depending on the particulars of the takeaway, a summary slide could look just like example you see on the screen. It's a slide from our design thinking workshop. Let's move forward. The next type of essential slides are exercise prompts. To this type of slide, we can include instructions, rules, discussion topics, and so on. You'll need at least one slide for every exercise. Prompts must be short enough to legibly fit on one slide, and at the same time, they need to be comprehensive enough to resolve any confusion within the group. If the prompt is too complex to fit on a slide, then it's possible that you've combined multiple tasks. In this situation, you can split them apart into several steps, and for each step, you can create a separate slide. And if the complexity is unavoidable, then consider moving this task into a paper handout. And just like learning outcome summary slides, prompt slides shouldn't be terribly text heavy or complicated. You can see the example on the screen. Let's move forward. The next type of essential slides are a resources list. We can include here, for example, recommended books, blogs, tools, and so on. A resource list is really required for your workshop to succeed, but it's really a nice way to wrap things up, and it really acts like a high-value takeaway for participants. And you also need an intro and outro slide with the talk's title and your contact information. Next slide, please. Some people also highlight structural slides, which include the workshop agenda, titles and spacers, timekeepers for breaks and lunch. And you can include these slides to your presentation as well, but they are more nice to have than essential. On the screen, you can see the example of an agenda slides from our workshop. And the last tip from us is about the images. So once you build the essential slides, you can spend as much time as you wish making them beautiful, but take into account this last tip. You are never obligated to include an image. That means when the images are used properly to directly support your talking point, they can enhance the message or deliver a punchline. But if images are irrelevant or inessential, or they are inessential, they have the opposite effect. Every time an image appears on your slides, people look at it and shift their attention away from you and what you are saying. So images are great, but only if they support your talking points. Never include them simply because you're scared of leaving empty space on the slide. And that's pretty much it about slides preparation, and I pass my word to Tanya.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everyone. Now I plan to say a few words about project for the workshop. In order to work out each activity with the workshop, you need to have a project with its problem that will be researched by the participants. The project can be different. For example, you can involve some local government that already have a real problem, and maybe these studies will be useful and interesting for them. Or you can come up with your own project. That's what we did. Next slide, please. The team and I made a brainstorm session to choose a cool and interesting project for the workshop. Our main criteria were the project shouldn't be highly specialized. That is, if we take some projects that helps with, I don't know, maybe some calculation for mine, it will be difficult because we don't know all the intricacies and real problems. And the second criteria were it should cover all our activities. Next slide, please. Since my part was not only a moderator, but also a stakeholder, so I was responsible for the project, I already had a problem at that time. I was looking for where and for whom I could leave my dog in case of travel, illness, some emergency situation, or for example, holding the workshop. After doing some research, I found some cool pet hotels or people who take pets for a certain amount of time, but that only works in the big city. And since I've been doing research for weeks and I haven't found what I need, I offered a pet project that will help pet owners find help to care for their pets in small towns. My advantage was that I was potential user and I understood needs and pains, but it was also one of the downsides because focusing on business was not enough. Next slide, please. We decided to move on with pet project. I prepared a presentation, then introduced the main idea and requirements of the project and helped the participants to form a common vision. Before the workshop, I held a potential kickoff session and I wrote down all the answers in notes to be prepared for the participants' question. Notes are top because it's hard to keep everything in your head, but there were moments I didn't work out. As I mentioned earlier, I was very focused on a product issue and didn't think a lot about the business side, like how the project should be monetized or how to move forward or what budget it has. The answers were invented on the go, and each team was given different information. Although we've got, as a result, it had a positive outcome. So I give the floor to the Julia.
Thanks, Tanya, and hello, everyone. My piece of information will be mostly about theory and practice, but let's start from introduction of our team and group forming. Our team includes five members. Here you see only 4, but we have one more member. And the purpose of the intro is to offer just enough credibility for your audience. And our advantage of our workshop team was that some of the participants already met us in the design meetups that Oleg shared with you, or they was just our friends or mentee. So we don't need to beat them over head with our CV, work history, or life story, because they already believe that we are credible. But even your auditory don't know you, it's not a problem. The auditory already believes that you are credible because these people already joined the workshop. So first part of our workshop was to introduction about design thinking methodology, about activities, and also group formation. In general, we have 16 or 15 people, I don't remember, but we have 4 groups, and it was from 3 to 5 people. And from my opinion, like small groups are better in case you have not too much people, up to 20, sorry. And small groups allow individuals to receive feedback more quickly. Small groups allow participants to learn from each other. And small groups create opportunities for more people to practice skills or apply knowledge. at the same time, and also encourage participants to know each other better, breaking down barriers and creating a more positive learning atmosphere. So please avoid a big number of people in one group, because every participant wants to contribute, even if these participants are very shy and silent person. So during every workshop will be times when you need everyone to stop talking, pay attention and listen you to deliver some piece of knowledge. Our lectures last from 5 to 15 minutes. Before the workshop, we estimated our lecture pieces and practice pieces, and our focus was not to create like a big piece of theory, because we have a full day workshop and it's a pretty much activities and theory, yes, so we don't need to take a lot of people time. So also one more good tip for you is, please, if you have a full day workshop with approximately 9 activities as we had, please act with co-speakers. So we divided our theory piece into 3 pieces, yeah, and every piece was like speaker for every piece was another. And also sliders should be with K-info, of course, Maria said it before. And very important is to prepare a print materials with instructions for every activity. It's very handy prompt for our participants. One more good thing, what I can say about theory, it's please share not only dry theory, share theory with examples and real stories. Examples could be based on real projects. And also questions and answers after every lecture piece, because for most people, so most of our auditory heard first time a lot of like this, like about design thinking methodology and activities, yeah, and it's hard to understand, hard to perceive this information. So please just ask them if you have any questions, even if they are very shy or silent. But what we see during our workshop, a lot of people ask questions during practice, not after theory. So our workshop include like every piece of the lecture was paired with a practice piece, yeah, and as I said, people have a lot of questions during this piece, and our goal as facilitators was to create a space where everyone feels comfortable sharing even the wildest ideas, yeah. And that ideas was, to be honest, in our workshop. Some people are more reserved and quiet. Please, you as a facilitator should pay attention to that people and ask them questions. For example, what's your take on the matter, or just a general questions. Does anyone has anything to add? Because not everyone are ready to express their ideas, but all of us have a brilliant thoughts, yeah. And if talking about welcome and friendly space, yeah, in our workshop, we have one co-stakeholder who create really welcoming and cool atmosphere in our workshop. It's a Percy. If talking about facilitating, so it's a very important thing during workshop, the role of facilitator, and facilitator should always listen. As a facilitator, it's essential to keep your thoughts, ideas, and comments to yourself. Yeah, and because you need to let the group generate their own content and their own solutions. You don't need to give them advice in every step. You need only guide them. Guide, but don't drive. Driving a group is taking the reins and potentially pushing participants in the wrong direction, not your direction. So as a guide, you want to empower and encourage participants to move in the sensible direction, their own direction. Also, what happens during our workshop, it's a conflict, yeah? And as a facilitator, you should mediate the conflicts. It's often that during the workshop, like opinions clash and conflicts arise. So show your respect for both opinions. give people a chance to solve their conflict for themselves, by themselves. And the last one thing, it's just have fun. Unlikely any big problem can be solved in one workshop, especially in the indication workshop. And your secondary objective on any workshop is for participants to have a great time. Feel like they achieved something and own the solution. Convert them to beliefs in the methodology, in the design thinking methodology, and you can push them to use this design thinking methodology in the real projects. And we have one great case when one of our participants is create a case for herself and upload it to LinkedIn. It's like she was very inspired in this workshop and create her own case and put into her own portfolio. One more time, you should act with co-facilitators. Yes, it's your help. If you will be alone, it will be very hard to facilitate full day workshop. And the last one, it's a time tracking. In full day workshop, it's really like in any workshop, it's important, especially in full day when you have a lot activities. Sometimes you need to say hard stop and move to another activity. Yes, in ideal experience, try to not rush the group too much, but if you need to do it, please do it. And yeah, teaching all day, exhausting, and tired facilitators will also stop doing the optional but very important thing, like walking in the room and scanning the problems during exercise. So please protect your energy, use breaks for yourself. And the last one, and the most important rule, that act with your team members on the workshops. Because take your time, like if talking about taking time and save your energy, it's okay that you can take your time for yourself and don't spend time for students, because your students deserve you at your best. Thank you, and I pass my word to Tanya.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia. So presentation of the result to the stakeholder is the final stage. At the final stage, the workshop participants are already tired, and not just participants, everyone already tired, and it's difficult for everyone to concentrate. So it's important to show real interest in the result of the demonstrated work in order to motivate the participants to some extent. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I highlighted a few prompts. So as the first, you should actively listen to the presenters, show emotions, not to devalue their work, ask a clarification question, and this will help to identify weaknesses in the research that participants may consider in the future, and also give quality feedback. It can be done by the whole team, because the resource at the end is a little few, and help from the team is only a plus, a big plus. So at the end of the workshop, I was brought Pepsi, this is my dog, as Julia said, and it set a cool atmosphere. The participants were a little encouraged, and listening to the presentation was more fun. So don't be afraid to add something interesting. It will help to leave a good impression about the event. So Julia, stage is yours.
Thanks. So yeah, very important thing about photo content. Don't be lazy to do a lot of photos. And now I will tell you what. So first of all, you will share these photos with all participants. As Alex mentioned before, that we create the group in Telegram where we share it all information about workshop and photo also. Then you can share these photos in the social media, maybe your PAM unit have some account in the social media, because we have XD community where we share it, like our contribution or some prompts about design. Also, you can share in your LinkedIn account. Also share photos in your design unit. It could be inspired for other people to do the same in their location. And use it for knowledge sharing, as we doing now. And the last one, it's you can use it for your portfolio and even for assessment. It's a really nice proof of your contribution. Thanks. And Maria, stage is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Let's now talk a little bit about the feedback. As designers, we enjoy incorporating the design thinking principles into everything we do. And workshops are not the exception. So our main advice here is to take a user-centered approach and ask your participants for a feedback. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. There are several options to gather feedback. Some of the resources would advise you to ask for feedback immediately after the workshop. Other resources find it more useful for everyone to ask for a feedback once the whole process is coming to its end. In this case, the participants will have had time to reflect upon how everything was tied together, and they will be in a better position to judge if the process has been successful or not. In these two cases, you can ask participants to fill out an online survey or a paper form. Another fun way of gathering feedback is so-called post-ups. It's when you ask your audience a question and everyone responds by writing something down on a sticky note. After that, they come forward and stick it on the wall. You can ask, for example, what went well, what went wrong, and what would they improve. And my favorite way of gathering feedback is to send a thank you for taking a part email together with a survey link. You can also include any good photos you took on the workshop. When we were conducting our workshop, we asked participants to leave feedback via our community platform immediately after the workshop. This is the platform where you signed up for this lecture, actually. But if you don't have any special platform, no worries. You can use any of the methods of gathering feedback that I've just described. Next slide, please. And when you already get the feedback, don't forget to run a retrospective. The idea is to sit down with a notebook after the workshop and list out everything that went wrong, everything that went unusually well, and what you might try doing differently on the next workshops. Remember that this isn't about beating yourself up, but rather about finding ways to improve. As with any design project, your design thinking workshop should be iterated and improved on a regular basis. And that's it from my side. Tanya, stage is yours.
Thanks, Maria. Of course, we held a retrospective after our workshop. Next slide, please. As a result, we identified several gaps and highlighted key points that may be useful. First, it's small groups. It's cool for participants, but it's hard for stakeholder if it's one person. And if you need to divide some activities into a group, so you need to have an even number of people. Second, too many activities. We are for quality, not quantity. Spending an entire day with your brain strained is hard. Second part of day was not so productive. People were already tired. Next, consider the extra time for each activity, even if it seems that you don't need, but actually you need. And the facilitator doesn't give advice if they concern the solution of the problem. He guides and help with the process when the group doesn't know how to proceed. Next, lots of activities, lots of breaks. So we had only one long lunch break, and it wasn't enough for walks and us to recharge. Next time we should add a few more short coffee breaks, so everyone will be able to restore their energy. And also stakeholders know all sides of business. As I mentioned before, I was very focused on user requirements and spent little time researching business requirements and needs. So stakeholder must consider all points. And from my side, it's all. Thank you. And I pass the word to Maria.
Thank you. So guys, if you're going to run a design thinking workshop or just want to learn more about it, here are a couple of useful resources. Next slide, please. First of all, you should read the workshop Survival Guide by Rob Fitzpatrick and Devin Hunt. This is a book that I mentioned when I was talking about preparing the design, the presentation slides for the workshop, and it's a great book that contains all the information you need about the workshops, both about preparation and facilitation. Rob Fitzpatrick actually also known as an author of another famous book, The Mom Test, and you should read it if you didn't have a chance to. And the next slide, please. If you are a fan of a shorter form, you can read these 2 articles about design thinking workshop. You can easily find them on Medium. And this is the end of our presentation. Do you have any questions?
The most fun time. It started.
Yeah, actually, thank you so much for your presentation. That was very interesting and enlightening. I gathered some thoughts that I definitely will use when I will do a workshop, maybe next time. And anyone, maybe questions or suggestions or your experience, please speak up.
Thank you for presentation and knowledge sharing. It was really useful. Yes, I have a question about, I think it's quite frequent situation, but how did you manage the situation when the task or activity run out of the time, right? Participants still don't have any results, but you can't wait so long because you have limited time. So what is the best way how to deal with this?
I could start and somebody can help me with it from our team. So I can start from our experience. As actually we had this situation when we run out of time, and once we give extra time for participants, as I remember, it was only once in the practice piece. But any other cases, we did strict stop. And that's all. But we have no cases when participants did 0 result, because we always support them. We always go through the groups, and ask, do you have some questions? How we can help you? Or if we see that participants don't know how to act, we just help them and about process, how they can act. So maybe a problem that facilitators don't help, and it's a result of their 0 result. I don't know. It's my thoughts. Guys, do you have any other?
Yeah, I can add that you need to track the progress of each team. And if you see that there is no much progress, you need to help them, at least so they have something to show and go to the next activity. And if it takes a lot of time to if it takes extra time to finish activity, you need help, and then stop this, because you will get out of time on the next activities, and your workshop duration will takes so much time that at the end you will have half of your participants, they will just leave. So you need to help during the activities. Yeah.
Good points. Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
No problem. Any more questions?
Maybe somebody wants to share his experience with workshops, educational workshops.
I have one question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So my question is, so all the participants, they have kind of not equal knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you divide them or like split into groups basing on their knowledge? If yes, then how?
Oh, I can start.
Okay.
Oleg, we'll proceed. So
Okay.
it's a very nice question about knowledge, but I also want just to share with you info about the groups and how they forming in our case. So as we said, it was our friends mostly or our MNT. So it wasn't a problem to create a group because I already know each other. Yeah. And we don't divide them into groups like, okay, you don't know, you know, you should be together. But it's like, I mean, you don't know design thinking methodology and you know, yeah, it's great to be together because we can help each other. You can help each other. It's a really great point how we can form a groups, yeah. But in our case, they just form it because they know each other and they are friends. And to be honest, most of them don't know about design thinking methodology. And it was not a problem to act and to create a nice projects. Oleg?
I can add that when we are planning activities, we were picking the most simple activities. So the participants don't need to have some special skills, or you don't need to explain instructions for each activity for a long time. So all of them are pretty simple and it's very clear what to do. So it's no matter what skill set they have or what level, and you don't need to divide groups into like their level of knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe one more question from my side. I'm just wondering, did you do any activity in the beginning of workshop within the teams to know each other? I mean, everyone should say, I don't know, 5 words about yourself, something like this.
No, because they already know each other. Not everyone, but a lot of them already know each other and already knows us. It was not totally new auditory, but in case if it's all totally new and they don't know each other, it's nice to have some of that activities, I think.
Yeah, I'm agree, definitely.
Yeah, well, actually, sorry, I have a comment.
Yeah, sure.
I participated in similar workshop and there was a lot of new people that I didn't know at the time. So we just made some short introductions and several coffee breaks, and that helped. So nothing special, just, talking about everything for several minutes each hour, and we became a nice team by the end of the workshop. Alex, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that they were forming groups because they were friends. So basically, they did know each other, but also the groups that they were forming, it was done by themselves. So we were not allocating people in different groups. So it was even a problem. So we didn't think about this. We just saw that they were distributing on tables by themselves, and the problem was resolved. Okay, any more questions?
I have no question, but have one suggestion. I already had similar experience
attended some workshop and just suggest to finish it on the time because it's already was like 6 o'clock. It's already should be finished, but it's not. And I already should to leave, and I don't know when everything will finish, and it will start.
Yeah, time is very important thing. As we said,
Yes,
sometimes we
yes,
should be more stricted.
and don't forget to add some extra time to each activities because we actually had the same situation. So our workshop was longer than we expected.
Any other questions, suggestions?
It seems like no, but maybe I have one question. It's not like a question, just maybe. All this stuff are really cool, but is it applicable to online workshop, in your opinion? Nope.
We should adapt it.
Okay.
Online workshop.
We should try.
We should try actually, yeah. Yeah. But not so long, I think.
Actually, I had experience with online workshop, and it was like so we had the one room, and this general room we had we listened some theory, and then we was divided to like separate rooms, and we do some activities there, and so also we had some facilitator, and of course it's not so productive, but we work on some one board on Figma or Miro, I don't remember, and it was like so I remember when our time is finished and we like, okay, so go next, and our workshop was the deadlines was really strict, and we did, I think, maybe half of our task, but it was fun, yeah, but it was not so productive as offline workshop.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, so anyone, any questions? 3, 2, 1. I think no. So thanks guys again for your presentation. Please subscribe, like, share, and see you on next events. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice evening. Bye.